Hello, hello, hello. This is Attorney Mike Irvin coming to you from Chicago as usual. And I got a nugget, another one from Alyssa. And it's long, but it's worth it. It's oh, Karen tries to represent herself. It's an unmitigated disaster. She rolls into a divorce. The husband is represented by a competent attorney. It's it's absolute mayhem. And but just prior to that, I've also had this SovCit. I've got a short SovCit clip. It's really fun. It's out of Texas, and it's a nice little intro to tonight's main event. Yes, people. The Love Boat soon will be making another run.
Love, exciting and new.
All right, you can go back with the bailiff, sir. And then on Janetta Pew, cause number 22-39902.
All right, let's get it out.
Good morning. Are you Janetta Pew?
I'm the beneficiary of the estate.
You're the what?
I'm the beneficiary of the estate.
You're the beneficiary of what estate? Answer my questions, please, ma'am. I'm just trying to understand.
Beneficiary of the estate.
Okay. What's the announcement?
Judge, it's my understanding that Ms. Pew and her family has retained an attorney on this matter. I don't know if you remember, just when I was originally appointed on, and we were on the trial docket. She hired a new attorney at that point. Mr. Norwood, who was on the case for a while, and then withdrew. And once recently, when the case came back to me, I visited her and I was told that they did retain another attorney. I was given the name of Christopher Wiley this morning, but I have not heard from him. And my understanding is that at this point still hasn't filed anything with the court.
Okay.
But I've been told that that's who's supposed to be taking over the case.
Okay.
For the record, I recognize Ms. Pew. She's been here before.
I do as well, for the record.
And I looked into Mr. Christopher Wiley. I can't find that person as a practicing lawyer in the state bar page, and I have not been contacted by anybody on Ms. Pew's behalf.
All right, so Ms. Pew, Mr. Lewis has been appointed to represent you at this point. Obviously, you know as well as anyone that you're in custody and we want to get your case taken care of. If you've hired or your family has hired another lawyer, then they have to contact the court so that we can do something with your case. And do you know if they've hired someone?
Respectfully, Your Honor, I do not agree with your appointed foreign agents, considering that the first duty is to the state and will be considered conflict of interest. You know.
Okay, so if you don't want, the only thing I can do, I'm appointing an attorney to you to help you, right? So if you don't want a court-appointed attorney, then your only option, two things. One is to represent yourself or to hire a lawyer. So if you don't like the way it works, then you do something different. So are you, listen to what I'm saying. Are you either going to represent yourself, or are you going to let Mr. Lewis represent you, or are you going to hire someone?
Objection, Your Honor. Respectfully, is this a court of record?
It is a court of record. So your objection's overruled.
Okay. Respectfully, Your Honor, where is the verified claim that is being placed against my trust?
It's right here. It's called an indictment. And Mr. Lewis has a copy of it, and he can show it to you. So that would be the verified claim against you.
Okay. Your Honor, respectfully, Your Honor, there were writs that was filed to the case that still haven't been received.
I've received your petition for writ of habeas corpus, and it's denied.
Okay. Respectfully, Your Honor, I demand to be released due to lack of evidence of stated claim and not being given the proper opportunity to obtain proper counsel, defective defense.
It's overruled.
Okay.
You're running out, aren't you?
No, it's fine.
So here's the thing, Miss Pugh. I appreciate your position, but listen,
Respectfully, Your Honor,
Miss Pugh,
with
don't
my
speak over me.
incarceration, respectfully, Your Honor, with my incarceration.
Miss Pugh, just because you say respectfully does not mean that you get to interrupt me. That's disrespectful, right? Hang on. Listen to me. Everything you have there is overruled. And here's one of the reasons why. Is because you have a lawyer. And your lawyer will file the appropriate motion. You're interrupting me again, which is disrespectful. So I'm going to leave Mr. Lewis as your attorney unless you choose to represent yourself or hire someone else. I'm going to give you 2 weeks to determine what you're going to do. You can go back. You can go back with the bailiff.
I do not agree or comply to your appointed.
Go back.
Agents.
You already said that, and that's overruled.
Is to the state.
Go back with the bailiff. Get your own attorney or represent yourself if you don't like it. That's been fun.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you please state your name for the record, ma'am?
Do you not?
Okay, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All
One
right.
moment, please.
Buckle up, people.
The 37th Circuit Court is now in session with the Honorable N.K. Kirkham presiding. It is Tuesday, March 12, 2024 at 8:30 a.m. And this is for case 2023-1284 DM, Angela Keene-Kennedy versus Timothy Keene-Kennedy. Attorney Mark Linton for defendant.
Good morning to everyone. This time place up for the trial in this matter. We were back court on a status conference back on January 31, 2024, at which time the court was informed that custody and the issues concerning the home were the only issues that were in dispute at that time. Want you to be aware that this is a court proceeding, and although we are appearing virtually, you have to conduct yourself as if you were physically in court. Everyone will have an opportunity to speak and have multiple opportunities to speak, so do not interrupt others or other witnesses unless you have a valid legal objection, which you can make at that time. I will say, however, do not interrupt me as we proceed in this matter. Also, do not make comments when anyone is speaking or testify, as you will have an opportunity to respond. A court will inform you at this point if you engage in offensive conduct or interrupt the court proceedings, you could be held in contempt of court and go to jail. Court proceedings are very emotional, and should that happen and you need to take a moment to compose yourself, just ask the court, say you need to take a brief 5-minute break or something, and we will take a break. That way you can get things calmed down and come back. I will tell you, Miss Keene-Kennedy, you're not an attorney, obviously, and you've chosen to represent yourself, but you will be held to the same legal standard as an attorney, and you will not be given any special consideration because you are not an attorney in this matter. So in this particular case, Ms. Keene-Kennedy, because you are the plaintiff, you will go first. You have an opportunity to present. First, we'll see if you have any opening statements to make, and then you have a chance to present any witnesses or evidence that you have in the case. And then after that, Mr. Linton will have his opportunity to present the defendant's case as well. And then we will have, at that point, closing arguments. Ms. Keene-Kennedy, do you have any opening statement to make, or do you want to proceed to your proofs?
I guess I don't, sir.
Excuse me, I didn't hear.
I guess I don't. I don't really know how to do court. I just hear.
Well, and that's why I said you're not an attorney, but you're held to the same standard. I can't give you a preference.
That's her best performance of the evening right there. She actually stated something that's undeniably true.
when I don't give a preference to the defendant either. So,
Right.
Mr. Linton, do you wish to make an opening statement, reserve your opening statement, or waive your opening statement?
Your Honor, we waive the opening statement.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Keene-Kennedy, what they've done is they've waived their opening statement, so it goes back to you. You have an opportunity to present any proofs that you would want in any testimony. I will tell you, anything that you say is not evidence unless you're sworn in and you're testifying. Oftentimes when people are, again, representing themselves, they just think that anything they say is evidence. It is not. So if you wish to testify, we'll have you sworn in, then you can testify.
This whole thing has been really a long journey for me.
Okay, ma'am, I'm probably why don't I have you be sworn in first, because
As usual, everything's a therapy session. Everything is a therapy session with the buzzwords and the whole deal, constantly.
anything you say at this point would not be evidence unless you're sworn in.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go ahead, Miss Keene-Kennedy. You can tell me what you would like me to be aware of.
There has been domestic violence involved in this. As far as what I'm looking for out of this divorce, I just want justice. I'm not looking for vengeance. We're both struggling to get by right now. We both don't have perfect credit. He wants to use the SUV to get to and from work, which I also need. We've both not treated each other well in this marriage. We both agree to that. But there's been cruelty. There's been... You'll have to excuse me. My stomach is acting up. Is there any way we could take a brief break?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, why don't we we'll take 10 minutes and then be back.
Can we do this today, Your Honor? My health is in jeopardy right now.
What's up?
I have IBS, irritable bowel syndrome,
Mhm.
and what's been going on is
Very stressful.
I'm bleeding inside, ma'am.
We are back on the record.
Yes, I had to pull out the IBS clip again today. I already did an update on IBS guy today.
Ms. Keene-Kennedy, are you all right now?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm sorry about that.
No problem, no problem. You can continue and proceed with your testimony.
Okay, thank you. Well, over the time that my husband and I were married, we had issues occasionally, and I didn't think much of it. But when I met my guy friend, it caused a lot of jealousy issues. And
When I met my guy friend, it caused some jealousy issues. Well, that's a quaint way to put it, isn't it?
I enjoyed spending time with him, and I knew my husband would get jealous, so I kind of lied about my time together with him in the beginning because I didn't want to lose him. He made me laugh, and I enjoyed having a new friend. I didn't think of it as anything wrong. But it caused jealousy issues, and my husband eventually, over that 2-year period, he started getting really cruel. And I feel it would be in the best interest of the children to be away from him for a while, because he basically turned them into bullies, and he allowed them to disrespect me. He allowed them to do whatever they wanted, basically. And, if mom said to do it, he would say, don't listen to her. If I said, I love you guys, I'm sorry, I have to leave, it's not safe for mom right now, he would say, no, you don't. She doesn't love you. And the kids over time, that's what they heard over and over, was that mom doesn't love them and that she's a bad parent and she's abandoning them. That's not true. I have stood by my kids since the day they were born. I have been a big supporter of their education, always finding educational toys, games, everything I can to try to further their studies and have fun while doing it. Tim and I both agree that private school is the best option for them this fall. I have too much on my plate right now to continue homeschooling, and quite frankly, with the breakdown of the bond between me and my kids, which was because of my husband, in my opinion, because of his influence, it made it very hard for me to teach because they didn't want to do what they were asked anymore. Well, if mom says, oh, I don't want to listen to what mom says. You know, Thomas would take his books, he would throw them across the room, and it just got to the point where I was like, well, I'll do the best I can, whatever we can get in, let's do it, you know, maybe watch some, you know, educational DVDs or something. But I really feel that they need to make new friends. And since Tim doesn't want them around my kids or my friends' kids, all right, that took away their only friends. And I was mad at him for that. But, you know, I want them to be happy. I want them to be successful. And obviously, Tim and I cannot trust one another anymore. We can't do anything anymore together without fighting or
Well, he can't trust you. We know that much. I don't know about the rest of it yet.
without apparently backstabbing. He told me he didn't have an attorney. So with everything that I've been through, my shelter stays at Safe Place, my God, he's threatened me, he's blackmailed me. There's just been a lot of very scary nights. And I want the SUV. If I can keep the house, that would be great. I don't have a means to get a place of my own. I'm staying with a friend, but I don't have good credit. And even with Section 8, it's been a struggle to try to find a place because everybody says, oh, your credit's not good enough. And I can't get a new car. Both the cars are mine, but the Pontiac is dead. It needs a major repair on it, and I can't afford it right now.
Oh, good Lord. I don't mean to be, you know, super critical here, but yeah, I don't think Pontiac's made cars for a solid decade. I mean, I don't know. I don't have it, but like right there, you know, it's just old. He's got a modest job. He works really hard. You'll see. You feel for this guy. They've got a modest home, and that's it. But you know, she decides that this is her course of action.
And the SUV.
Keep in mind, he's the defendant, she's the plaintiff, meaning she filed for this divorce.
He is mine. I paid for that out of my inheritance money, and Tim wants to still use it for work, and I need it for work, so that's a problem. And I'm tired.
Yeah, that's a problem. He wants to use the one usable vehicle in the family for work, and he supports the entire family with his work. And you want to, I don't know.
This man tormenting me because he has. There have been times he's been a very good husband, and there's been times he's been very scary. And I don't believe that it is in the best interest of the children for him to have full custody of them when he continues to have a stronger influence over them than myself. They don't understand that they've been brainwashed. They don't understand how strong Dad's influence has been. And I can't parent them easily if they're not willing to be open to, you know, what Mom offers for life advice or just simple parenting. I don't know what else I'm supposed to say. I know that there's stuff we got to work on as far as, you know, how we're going to co-parent eventually. But I think that my kids need therapy. I think it's going to take at least 6 months to a year. And during that time, I don't think Tim should have any involvement. because I think that his influence has been heavy enough. I've watched my kids go from sweet babies to destroying my stuff and stabbing me in the back by telling dad stuff that, you know, they overheard me say or saw over my shoulder texting to a friend. And then
Oh yes. Oh yes. I read this as my kids are rotten because they tell their father about me cheating.
they just decided to report it, you know, like it's not their place. It's not their business, you know, and they didn't have the whole story.
Oh, good thing they didn't have the whole story.
There have been multiple police phone calls for domestic violence to the police. It's not safe for me to be here, not to share a house. I know Tim had suggested sharing part of the house and just partitioning it off, but I couldn't trust that it would be okay. He says that I can't afford the upkeep on this house. I don't intend to stay a cashier at Walmart forever, and I've lost 3 jobs because of him and this stupid marital drama that we've been going through. The lack of sleep and him making it so bad for me after like 3 to 5 hours of putting me down.
It's all his jealousy issues. She is a saint. It's all because he had the temerity to suggest that he didn't want to be in a marriage where she was shacking up with another guy.
Putting my parents down, of just insult after insult. And finally I just said, enough. I'd rather take my chances out on the street. And so I would leave. And whether I got a room at the shelter, I tried. A lot of times they were full. So, you know, I would take loan money from my guy friend and he would give me some cash and I'd go crash at a motel for a night or two, let things cool down and try again, leave my duffel bag by the sofa.
Loan money for my guy friend. I just want you to absorb that phrase. I just want you to kick that around a while.
Try to be near the kids. It just wasn't working. We did this for months.
Mm-hmm.
He made my kids hate me. And he says no, but he did. When he told them that don't worry.
Kids aren't stupid. They saw that you made some voluntary decisions that broke up a family. They'd probably hold that against you.
Guys, this thing will be gone soon. This loaf on the sofa. That hurt. And there were many other things that he added over the course of 2 years that he says were justified because I was being shady and I wasn't respecting him. So he feels everything he said and did was fair. And I don't agree. Some of it was downright cruel. And that's why I want it out. The environment here at the house is negative and sometimes toxic. And I don't think that that's good for the kids. I think they need to be in a more nurturing environment. And I can't say as I've always been positive myself. I've been struggling with my own self-esteem issues. I've been in therapy for almost a year now with my therapist over at Safe Place. They're really knowledgeable and it's helped me a lot. And I feel that I can be a much better mother when I'm out of this negativity and I can continue to heal properly if I'm not constantly afraid all the time. I want to be a better mom and I know I can get back to that. It's just been a very difficult time period for all of us. And I know part of the reason my kids are acting out is because of the divorce. But a lot of it has to do with what dad has told them, confided in them, which I think is not right either. I had my few moments too, because we don't have a lot of friends and sometimes it just came out. But, you know, kids deserve better. So I want to try to make that a better year for them this year. But I need a car to be able to do it, and I need a better job, and I can't get a better job until I have a car. I guess that's it.
Okay. Mr. Linton, any cross-examination?
Yes. So, Ms. Kennedy,
Oh, this gets fun right here. This gets fun.
when did you move out of the marital residence?
I never actually really changed my address, and my name is still on the title of the house. I just sort of came and went.
Well, you indicated that you've been staying with friends. So how long ago did you begin staying away from the marital home?
So last week in November, I got scared and I left for my own safety.
So last week in November is when you basically moved out?
I can't say that I moved out. I spend the majority of my time here. When my husband's at work, I watch the kids. So, I mean, I am here a lot. I don't really have a home per se. I sleep over at my friend's house,
All right.
but I don't live there. I don't spend much time there at all.
Who is this friend?
Nicole.
Nicole. And is this person in any way related to, you call him your guy friend? I think his name's James.
It's James's sister, yes.
Oh, isn't
Okay,
that
so you live with his sister.
Kind of. Like I said, I don't really live there. Like, I sleep there, you know.
Okay. And so do you have your clothes and items there?
I don't know how this is relevant. I left for my safety.
That wasn't the question if you left for safety. The question was, are you keeping your belongings at this place?
I have belongings here at the house too, at both places. I don't understand.
So you do have your some belongings there.
I think I have a change of clothes here at the house, and I've got the majority of my stuff over there, yes, because my children were destroying them.
All right. And is this located near where James lives?
For a time, yes. He's moving, so
All right. I'd like to,
So he's bad and her children are monsters. Okay, check.
show you. Your Honor, would I be able to share screen?
Yes.
Yeah, 1 second. You should be able to now.
Okay. All right. Ms. Kennedy, showing you here, looks like a text from Angela. Would you recognize this text?
yes, I do.
Okay. Is this a text message that you sent to your husband, Tim?
Yes, I did.
All right. And in this text, you're indicating that your oldest, I assume your oldest child, is that you're referring to?
Yes.
Is afraid of you?
That was because of what my husband told her, and I wrote a letter to the judge explaining this, but his continued poisoning of her mind over the past 2 years is what
Sure did.
prompted this.
Okay.
And
But she did declare to you that she was afraid of you.
Would you please stop interrupting me?
I thought
Well,
you.
Ma'am, you're going to have to answer the question. You're kind of getting off on things that you want to say. Answer.
Would you stop interrupting me on cross-examination? No, I won't. In fact, it's my job. I'm supposed to ask you questions that help my client's case, and that tends to be really uncomfortable stuff. Deal with it.
What Mr. Linton has asked you, and then you'll have an opportunity later to respond.
Fine.
She did tell you that she was afraid of you. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And she also asked you to leave the home. Is that correct?
She asked me to leave, yes.
Okay. All right. Your Honor, I ask if what's marked as Exhibit B1
Yep.
could be admitted.
One, ma'am, what's your response to the offer of the exhibit?
That's not fair.
And like this sort of stuff, look at what she writes in the text, and she sits there and cries, "Oh, he says mean things to me." Well, of course, they're fighting. You cheated on him. But people say mean things to each other. But like, what? You have free reign to write that. I mean, it's not going to affect him. But then I don't want to hear you crying that he said something mean to me. You say mean things and you do bad things.
I have plenty of evidence that I could give where he said horrible things to me, and I provided photos of that to you prior to this trial.
Okay. Court will admit defendant's exhibit B1, there being no appropriate objection.
Let's see.
I have evidence I could give. You just basically made your case. You just were allowed to testify. That's when you present your evidence. You're now being cross-examined. You done missed it.
And ma'am, just for your edification as you go, you've submitted things, and as you said, a letter. The court cannot consider any letters from parties. That's ex parte communication. So any letters that you might have written, I did not review, I did not read. You find that humorous, ma'am?
Your Honor, you have no idea the hell this man has put me through. And yeah, I believe that laugh was appropriate given my situation and my opinion and everything that I've endured from his hand.
Well,
It's her truth now. Don't you understand? I mean, she's obnoxious and she's taking it right to the judge now. Do you find her a fact in this particular scenario?
let me inform you again, ma'am. I'm just trying to tell you what the law requires, and the law states I cannot consider ex parte communication. So when you send me a letter, I can't and I did not review that. I just advising you that so you would know that. And regardless of what your history is or anything like that, the court doesn't see how that's funny that I'm informing you what the law provides. Go ahead, Mr. Linton.
Okay, thank you. So, Ms. Kennedy, I'm showing you another text here. Does this appear to be a text that you would have sent to Mr. Kennedy?
Yes, I sent it and then I regretted it.
Well, let me just ask the question first. So, so this message, and you're basically stating to Mr. Kennedy that if he just helps you get a car, that you would give him the house. Is that correct?
We have gone back and forth multiple times, sir.
But that's what's in this message, is that if he helps you get a car, that you'll give him the house, correct?
Yes, at the time, that's what I put.
Okay. And in fact, Mr. Kennedy did co-sign a loan to help get this SUV in question, correct?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Your Honor, I ask that Exhibit B8 be admitted.
Ma'am, what's your response?
That SUV was paid for out of my $40,000, my inheritance money, not his. And I make those payments to One Main right now, not him. He may have made a few of those payments, but I make them now. And I did make them in the beginning.
Okay. Court will admit defendant's Exhibit B8, there being no proper objection.
All right. I'm showing you, Ms. Kennedy, another text message here that was sent to Mr. Kennedy. Does this appear to be a message that you would send him?
Yes, I did.
Okay. In that message, you basically are, I'll just read it. It says, you're giving no thought or consideration to the fact that you have a life and responsibilities over here now, too, that is neglected when I stay overnight with you and the kids. You're referring to over here now. Where is that location? What are you referring to there?
Nicole's house.
Okay, so you're further.
Oh yeah, she has the gall to text him. You're not taking into account the responsibilities I have to the guy that I'm cheating on you with.
Indicating that you have responsibilities that cannot be neglected at Nicole's house. Is that correct?
Doing laundry, doing dishes, things that I need to do to be independent. I can't just dirty my laundry and then just wear dirty clothes to work. Like, he doesn't give me time for anything, and my therapist can vouch for that.
Okay, but what the message is saying is that you have a life over at Nicole's house and responsibilities, and that you can't neglect those to come home and help with the kids at the house. Is that correct?
No, that is not what I said. What I was trying to imply, okay, I know what you're trying to imply, but what I'm trying to imply by that is the fact that any time that I went to work, Tim immediately wanted me to come from work to the house to watch the kids because he said he couldn't trust them to be home alone, even though they're old enough to be. And he wanted me to stay the entire duration. And then as soon as that was done, I would walk 2 miles to get to my house.
Oh my God. She's tearing my heart out here. She's got to walk 2 miles, which I don't believe for 1 second, to get back to her hookup. And this guy expects her to spend time with her children.
My other house. All right. And then by the time I got there, I was exhausted. I had no time to do my chores, to take care of myself, to do my schoolwork. And he didn't care. He said he didn't care if I lost my job because he made more money.
All right. So he's asking you for help watching the kids, and you're declining. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I said at all. I said that I am tired by the time I get done going from work and watching the kids. I literally have no time for myself at all. So that's all I do at Nicole's is sleep.
Okay.
And I ask her to do
I need me time. Okay. Are you getting this, Judge?
my chores. That's not fair.
So, Your Honor, I would ask that Exhibit B11 be admitted.
B11? Ma'am, any response to this particular exhibit?
I don't know what to say. I'm getting steamrolled.
Okay. Court will admit defendant's exhibit B11.
You are, in fact, getting steamrolled by a competent attorney, and it's absolutely glorious.
Thank you.
Do I get a chance to enter in anything off my phone since the pictures in the letter don't seem to count?
Ma'am,
she says after it's over. Oh, I'm enjoying it too much.
you had opportunity when you testified to present any evidence. We will give you an opportunity after this if you wish to do so.
Okay. Ms. Kennedy, I'm showing you another text message that was sent from you to Mr. Kennedy. Do you recognize this message?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And in this message, you're telling Mr. Kennedy that I love James very much. I'm his now, and he is mine. Is that accurate?
Apparently, James doesn't have a car to pick you up when you're done with your kids.
Is that what it says?
I was just saying that to get his goat, but I do care about James very much.
Okay. So you're sending antagonizing messages to Mr. Kennedy to get his goat, so to say?
No.
Oh, it's just beautiful. The attorney hammers are there. She said it because she meant it, but she tries to cover it by saying I was antagonizing him, and the attorney just sticks her for it. It's beautiful.
Look, I care about James. He's a good guy, and we have a lot of laughs together. But it's not like what you're trying to paint me as, no.
Okay. Your Honor, I ask that.
It's exactly like you're trying to paint her ass, as you shall see shortly.
Exhibit B13 be admitted.
Any response, ma'am?
James is a good friend of mine, all right? He's not a bad person, and I don't want him involved in this.
Court will admit defendant's exhibit B13. There be no objection.
So, Ms. Kennedy, I'm showing you another text message here between you and Mr. Kennedy. Do you recognize this message as well?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And in this message, you're saying that not trying to sound rude, but don't worry about my plans. I don't live at the house anymore. Is that correct?
And technically, all my possessions are at Nicole's, but I don't spend much time at Nicole's because I'm always here.
But you're indicating that you don't live at the house anymore, right? In this message?
Is the whole point to just give my husband everything because it's a lot less painful than
And that's not the question I asked you. I just asked you in this message, you're stating that you don't live at the house anymore. Is that correct?
I didn't have a choice. He pushed me out.
Okay. That's not the question. I'm just asking you the contents, which is you're saying you don't live at the house anymore. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Your Honor, I ask that B16 be admitted.
Okay. Ma'am, any response on Exhibit B16?
No, Your Honor.
Defendant's Exhibit B16 is admitted.
All right. And so I'm showing you another text message sent from yourself to Mr. Kennedy. Do you recognize this message?
Tim said he wasn't going to submit these. He said that I could just talk to him, and he lied to me.
So you do recognize it?
Yes.
Okay. And in this message, you're saying, I choose James. Is that correct?
He doesn't abuse me.
So that is correct.
I'm so lost without you. I know you were right.
Right to Mr. Kennedy that I choose James.
It doesn't matter what I choose. It's what James chooses too. And he has chosen me.
Okay,
So,
ma'am, I'm just asking you what's in this message. Is that what's stated in this message?
yes, that's
Okay.
what I...
Okay. So, Your Honor, I'd ask that Exhibit B18 be admitted.
Any response on Exhibit B18, ma'am?
My husband is deeply manipulative. He is evil. He's a narcissist. And I have tried forever to escape him.
Okay. Court will admit the defendant's Exhibit.
Yes, honey, of course. All your actions are justified. You do what you want to do, okay?
B18 as there is no objection.
Okay. Ms. Kennedy, excuse me. I'm going to show you here. There were some pictures that I'm going to display here. Do you recognize these pictures?
Oh my God. Why? Yes, I recognize them.
Okay. And these are pictures that did you send to this friend of yours, James?
I sent them to my husband.
Mhm.
Did you send them to James?
I might have. I don't know. I don't remember.
So you may have sent them to James.
Ma'am, are you a whore? I object to the relevance of that, Your Honor.
All right, what,
I'll tie it up real quick, Judge.
all right, go ahead.
You're not a whore?
Probably did. Okay. I don't know. I don't send them around to a whole neighborhood. I've never done pictures like that before.
Okay. So these are pictures you took of yourself or had taken?
I took them myself.
All right. Your Honor, I said Exhibit C1 through C12 be admitted.
Okay. Mr.
That's my favorite of the whole hearing. There's lots more to cringe about, but I might have sent them to James. Oh, that's good.
Keene-Kennedy, any response to defendant's exhibits C1 through C12?
I don't have anything to say.
Okay. Defendant's exhibits C1 through C12 are admitted.
All right. Ms. Kennedy, did you recently stay overnight at the home for a couple of days?
I don't understand.
Were you sick and that you actually stayed at the marital residence for a couple of nights?
I object. That's under 7 days prior to the trial date. That doesn't have anything to do with this.
Ma'am, it's not a proper objection, so answer the question.
Yeah, I was sick and there was medicine here and I didn't have that over at Nicole's.
Okay. So you did stay the night, a couple of nights at the marital residence.
Like I said, I'm in and out.
Just answer the question. So you did stay a couple of nights over at the marital residence.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so obviously you weren't scared, to the point where you felt comfortable you could stay there for 2 nights, correct?
Mock me, sir. That is not fair. Pull my records with my therapist and you'll see.
Okay, ma'am, that's not the question. I said you felt safe enough that you were able to stay over 2 nights at the marital residence, correct?
It depends on him. If he has been drinking, he becomes a totally different.
That's not the question I asked you. I just said you spent those 2 nights when you felt sick and you were comfortable enough to do that, correct? It's a yes or no.
Where else can I go? I don't have anybody else to take care of me.
So that's a yes?
I'm taking it as a yes.
Did this. He did this. He set me up for failure. That's what all of
That's not the question. Question is you felt safe enough to stay. You felt safe enough.
He set her up for failure. That doesn't even make sense. But if you get sick and need medication, apparently you run right back there and feel comfortable.
To stay at the marital residence for 2 nights, correct?
I don't feel safe here. Why do you think I sleep with my phone under my pillow? I do what happens.
Why do you think we know that you sleep with your phone under your pillow? Or believe anything that you say?
To do to survive. Anybody would feel that way.
So, Ms. Kennedy, have you had the children around James?
A couple times. I had to give him some money to pay him back.
That's disgusting.
So you have had them spend some time with James?
A couple times.
And have you brought them over to the residence where Nicole lives, where you're staying?
Yeah, I generally take my kids wherever I'm going if I'm running errands.
Have they ever spent the night at Nicole's home?
Bella has.
Who?
My daughter Bella, she has been over there with me. She asked me to take her.
So one of your children has spent 1 night there?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
It's not a dangerous place. Nicole has 2 boys.
I think she'd
They're
make
young.
more at Walmart.
Okay. And you indicated something about they're friends with James's children. Is that what you had testified to earlier?
I have no idea what that is. James doesn't have kids.
Okay. Maybe I missed it. Maybe it was Nicole. I'm sorry. You mentioned something about other kids and they weren't able to see them anymore and they lost their friends. So I wasn't sure what context that was within. What hours do you generally work at your employer?
9 a.m. to 6.
All right. And for whom do you work for?
Walmart.
And how long have you worked there?
Since October the 13th.
And how much do you make?
14.
All right. And how many hours a week do you typically work?
Depends. If they cut hours, like 32, sometimes I work 40, but for the most part, I'd say the average is about 38.
All right. And are you considered full-time?
Yes, I am.
And do you have health insurance through your employer?
I was offered it in the beginning stages, and I missed the enrollment period, so I do not have health insurance right now through them. I do have health insurance through the state as secondary.
Okay. Do you have health insurance through Mr. Kennedy's employer?
Until he drops me.
But you currently have health insurance through Mr. Kennedy's employer, correct?
I told him not to add me, but yes. Because it messes up all my benefits.
And so you indicate you work typically 9 to 6. Is that right?
Could you get any less likable? I'm mad at him for adding me to the insurance because it messes up my my free government cheese.
Yes.
All right. And so how many days, like, do you have a set schedule every week or do you work a varying schedule?
It's a set schedule.
And what is this? What are the days then you work?
Friday through Tuesday.
And the kids are currently homeschooled, is that correct?
Yes.
So while you're away from the marital residence, Mr. Kennedy is the one that has to provide care for the children. Is that correct?
If they're here, they're in his care. However he decides to arrange that is on him. For the most part, my husband has told me he can't afford a babysitter, so it's easier to have me watch the kids.
All right, but you're able to watch them 9 to 6 a.m. or 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. to Friday through Tuesday, right?
I mean, this is hard to swallow. She is cranking because he's not paying a babysitter to watch her kids, and now she gets pulled in, and she's not happy about it. Oh yeah.
I can't watch them while I'm at work.
Okay.
But he leaves for work about 2:30. So the kids are by themselves for a few hours, and it's not a big deal because Sam is 14, Olivia's 13, Thomas is 12, and Isabel just turned 8. They're more than capable of.
Ms. Kennedy, how much child support have you paid to Mr. Kennedy since you moved out?
None, because none has been demanded. None has been determined.
Okay. Have you provided him any financial support since you've moved out?
Absolutely. I spent almost $400 on groceries a couple weeks ago. I paid the Semco bill last week. It's not like I don't contribute.
Do you help pay the household bills then?
That's what I just said. I paid the Semco bill. That way it wouldn't be shut off.
You said you paid the septic bill?
No, Semco heat.
Okay. So you've paid for one heating bill since you've moved out.
I've paid for more than that.
What other bills have you paid?
Caught unprepared. I don't have it all in front of me, but I have participated. I usually buy food for them.
So you can only say for certain that you paid the one Semco bill, the one heating bill.
I was told that my husband made enough money that he could cover all this by himself. He didn't need me, but I have been contributing.
Okay, so your contribution was then also $400 in groceries. Is that what you testified to?
Yes.
Okay. And other than paying that bill and those groceries, you haven't made any other contributions to the household finances. Is that correct?
For the one main title loan, I've been making payments on that to get that current.
To what?
We have a title loan against the SUV. It's over $6,000 that we still owe, that I owe, but he co-signed on it.
Okay.
And I made that bill current. I just made a payment on that.
Okay, so it's for the car payment.
Yes.
Okay. And are you currently in school?
I tried to go back to school, but that didn't work out very well.
Okay, so that's a no.
I pretty much had to give up that class because of these other things that were going on.
Okay. All right, Anna, I have no further questions. Thank you.
Okay. Ma'am, would you tell me, you stated in your testimony that you had been at the shelter for a period of time. How long after you left in November, how long did you remain in the shelter?
I stayed 3 separate visits, and I'm sorry, Your Honor, I do not have those dates in front of me at the moment. I do have them at the other house, but I've been very sick, so I stayed over here, and I don't have that stuff in front of me.
Okay, give me an idea about combining the 3 visits. How long were you there?
Maybe a few days, sir.
A few days total, all 3, or a few days each visit?
All this is so evasive. She went to the shelter for 3 nights, and I think mostly for show. Because let's face it, she left because she had a place to shack up. That's the reality here. And she's doing this to elicit sympathy. She probably never once needed a shelter.
few days for all three, I believe. I think I stayed one night for each time. Maybe two on the second one. But I remember all those times were very, very hard for me. They were
I didn't
very
notice that.
traumatic.
I think you're right.
I had proof. I did go through the intake process, and each time it took an hour, and then they were able to get me a room, and
Okay.
they have a wealth of resources there, which have been very helpful to me.
I mean, I'm sorry, but I just get the sense that all that was nonsense so she could later claim that he's abusive. You'll see the rest of the testimony. There's nothing to suggest that. Nothing whatsoever.
Okay. Ma'am, anything else that you would like to say or present in this case?
I don't know how to pull up documents and show pictures of things.
Always the case.
Do you know how to do that in this?
We don't do that, ma'am. If, again, if you have exhibits to present, you have to present those.
There's a share option. Oh, hey, I found it. So, give me just a second, and I will share some stuff with the court.
Yeah.
If I can go back that far.
She doesn't technically know how to do it, and then she's just blowing past that the notion that she's not laid any foundation, and well, you'll see. It's fun.
Let's see here. There's a lot on my phone. Oh, where is it?
Yeah, James wanted some easy fun.
That's
that was
one
it.
of
Pure and
them.
simple. He does not want to buy off this project. I guarantee it.
Let's see. Hang on, I got almost all of them. Let's see. Okay, there's some of that.
Come on, you better come up with something good because
Okay.
show was fantastic.
So I haven't done this before, so bear with me. There's a number of different texts that I'm bringing up right now. And
All hearsay.
I don't know how to scroll to. Okay. So this one where Tim said, watch your spending, you're broke. I was out with my friend John and we were shopping and I had just left because this was before I was staying with Nicole. And I'd left because my husband had been putting me down again and I needed out. And so John let me sleep on his sofa for a little bit. And I had $200 left of my student loan money. And I set it aside just in case I needed fallback money, in case something.
I mean, we're all thinking it. I'm gonna ask the question. Who's John?
Were to happen at home, I had something and I wasn't flat broke. Well, I went to go buy birdseed for my birds and he had sent me a text, watch your spending, you're broke. He had spent all but $5 in the checking account and he never once asked me if it was okay. And the bank apparently said it was okay for him to do that because it was considered a joint account. And I was mad because that's money I have to pay back.
That's what
I could never regain all of it back. These are threats from him about throwing my stuff out on the lawn and calling me names, saying my kids will never respect me, inappropriate texts, things that were just really just deeply hurtful. And I never slept with James, but I was close with him. I'm still close with him.
Oh, come on.
He's been very supportive of me despite all of this. He's been trying to help me as a friend would help. And I have
Glad you
more.
guys slept with James
I
and
don't know
John.
if I can.
I'm going to use Miss Fowler's word. She now is in a throuple. And not only does she choose to be in a throuple, and she's shacked up in the bed with the throuple. Now, if anybody thinks this is okay, I am in the wrong world.
But I don't know if I can put that up there.
She really claims she never did that after
where is it?
after the glamour shot expose. Come
And
on.
I think there's, hang on just a second.
Come on.
I don't know if I can get it on my, it probably won't let me share audio. I have audio on here as well.
Your Honor, I guess I would just ask this. I don't know if Ms. Kennedy had complied with the court's trial order in submitting exhibits to the court prior to the trial.
She did, Mr. Linton.
Okay.
I think there was one from, let's see.
Let me see.
There was another one too, where I had asked John about something my husband had said, and it was,
Oh yeah.
he was trying to gaslight me on,
Yeah, John's
Tim
in
was
there,
trying
too.
to gaslight me on what he was doing to try to control me.
Yes.
And I confirmed with John that
Your Honor, I would object on hearsay.
that's not hearsay. I have the screenshot that shows that I was talking to him about it.
That's effing hearsay. But I love her condescendingly telling the attorney who made a proper objection. It's not hers to rule on. But it's so good.
And right here from John.
Your Honor, I would object on hearsay.
Ma'am, you cannot introduce what they call hearsay as any out-of-court statement offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted. So you cannot present any statements other people made out of court. If they were here to testify, they could testify to that, but you can't introduce what somebody else has stated.
Sorry, I was just trying to show an example of the fact that he was gaslighting me.
Well, regardless of what you're trying to do, you can't do it, ma'am.
My
It's the gaslighting hearsay exception that's never taught in law school.
apologies. I think there was one.
Was it this one?
Love, exciting and new.
Back when let's see, there was that one. Oh, where is it? So my kids never had a habit of being destructive until this whole thing started. And it got to a point where they destroyed over $1,200 of my possessions. And it became quite serious. Tim said he didn't hear it because he was doing dishes, and I don't buy it. But I lost a lot. And I don't know, am I allowed to submit a screenshot of my husband when he got on my Facebook account without my permission or knowledge and pretended to be me and talk to James? Because I don't feel that that was legal at all.
If you can establish as such and lay a proper foundation, ma'am.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I'm guessing
So some of this was this particular screenshot. Tim's trying to control me. And he's trying to make me look bad. This is property that was mine, my yearbooks that were damaged by my kids. Things that I can't ever replace. And just absolutely decimated because he created this vision of me that they could hate. And he encouraged it. At least on one occasion I overheard. He denies it. But they just tore apart my stuff and $200 worth of makeup. And this screenshot with James.
Your Honor, I would object to hearsay.
That is not hearsay. This is something that I have on audio from my daughter Sam confessing that she saw her father do this.
Hey, ma'am, if it's an out of court statement, it is hearsay unless you have that person testifying. So court will sustain the objection.
Well, what is the point then to all of this if I'm just going to just get steamrolled? I don't know my rights. I'm not an attorney. I'm just trying to defend myself.
Mm-hmm.
And you can try to do that, ma'am, but as I told you at the start of this, you're held to the same standard as an attorney when you choose to represent yourself, and I can't give you special consideration.
I understand that, but even when I went for free legal representation, they said because there was no physical abuse, they wouldn't help me.
Okay. Regardless, ma'am, it's your time to present your evidence at this point in testimony, and please move on.
All right.
There was no abuse at all.
Anything else, ma'am?
I mean, if it doesn't matter, then I guess not.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Linton, any additional cross?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Seriously.
Ms. Keene-Kennedy, do you have any additional witnesses to present at this time?
I do not, Your Honor.
Okay. Any additional evidence, ma'am?
I can't figure out how to get the audio up on here.
Okay.
Or lay a foundation, or what hearsay is, and lots of other things.
I know that there's probably a way to do that, but I don't know. If I play audio, can you hear it?
I have no idea, ma'am.
Let me see if I can get it. Can you hear me right now?
Yes.
Let's see here. If I can get. Oh, you know, at this point, I just don't even care.
Okay.
I think I just, it's neither here nor there, I guess, at this point.
Yeah.
He's pretty much won everything.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Linton, call your first witness.
Oh,
Yes, I would call Defendant Tim Kennedy.
Okay. Mr. Kennedy, raise your right hand. We'll have you sworn in, then we'll proceed.
Sir, do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you. Can you spell your first and last name for the record?
That's going to be Timothy, Timothy. Last name Keene-Kennedy, Keene-Kennedy.
All right. Thank you. So, Tim, can you tell me when were you married to Miss Kennedy?
June 20th of 2009.
All right. And how many children do you have?
We have 4 together.
All right. And can you tell me their ages?
My oldest daughter, Samantha, she is 14. My next oldest daughter, Olivia, she's 13. My son, Thomas, he is 12. And my youngest, Bella, she just turned 7.
All right. And did there come a point where Miss Kennedy moved out of the marital residence?
Yes, and late April, early May of 2023, she moved out to her friend John's apartment, and then he lost his lease or something because of a medical condition. I want to say maybe late August, early September, and then I allowed her to move back into the marital residence where she stayed until the end of.
He is too nice. He is too nice. And the question I want to ask, and the attorney, it doesn't suit the attorney's purpose, so I understand why he doesn't. But the question I'd really like to ask is, did you get DNA tests? How confident are you that these are your children?
November, I believe, was the day after Thanksgiving last year.
Okay. And since that point in November, how many times has she spent the night at the marital residence?
Oh, I'd say probably at least 2 dozen.
Okay. And that those just random occasions, or was there certain reasons?
Random occasions.
All right. And you heard Miss Kennedy talk about domestic violence, and then she indicated at the end there was no physical abuse when she was trying to get representation. Have you ever physically assaulted or abused Miss Kennedy in any way?
No, I have not.
Would it be fair to say you've gotten in some heated verbal arguments?
That's absolutely true.
All right. And did those arguments center on the fact that she was in a relationship with another man named James?
I believe almost all of them were.
All right. And how did you come to find out about her relationship with James?
Well, I believe it was the early part of July of 2022. Yeah, it would be 2022, July of 2022. I had stayed up late with my eldest daughter, Samantha, since she's disabled. And I ended up sleeping in. She took the 3 other children out for ice cream. At least that's what I was told. And then when they got back later that afternoon, the children had indicated to me that there was another man there that bought them their ice cream. And they said they didn't feel right lying to me or hiding that from me.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So they were aware that this wasn't just a random occurrence or a friend. This was something important to mom.
She has never done this with before. So I would say, yeah, it wouldn't be a random occurrence. It would be deliberate.
As far as you know.
Right. And has there been any other indications that Miss Kennedy has brought the children around James?
Yes. When she used to go grocery.
First of all, this is incredibly disgusting. Second of all, I think that this is what she was referring to with her kids stabbing her in the back, is them mentioning that to their father.
Shopping at the store, she would go, and I would stay home with a couple of the kids, and she would take a couple of the kids out with her. And then when they got home, they also told me that she had called him back up, that being James, and he joined her at the grocery store to go shopping with them. So.
Okay. And this has been
this actually gets worse. It's kind of sad.
Repeated situation where the children have indicated they've been exposed to James?
I believe it's only been 3 occasions.
All right. All right. And so since Miss Kennedy moved out of the marital residence, has she provided financial support to you?
She has bought groceries a handful of times. Like I said, she makes her SUV payment, like she said. She did pay the Semco Keep bill about a week and a half ago. And as far as that, she occasionally will pay a bill here and there. But to ask me which ones, I do not know.
All right. Would it be fair to say that the vast majority of the financial support has come from you for the children?
That would be correct.
Oh.
All right. So I'd like to...
Yep.
Well, she did not object, so the court will admit Defendant's Exhibit A. And we'll wait for her to return.
Pause again for
No, we'll keep it up and go.
He's
Gets
really
back,
too
I want
nice.
to be able to just go.
Sorry.
I absolutely believe him.
Go ahead, you can proceed, Mr. Lenton.
Thank you. So, Tim, since Angela has moved out, can you provide a summary of the care that's fallen to you as far as raising the children since she left the marital home?
Yes, generally when I get home from work, because I get home about 11:20, 11:30 at night, I come home, I will make sure that they've had their medications. I will make sure that they've had their last meal for the evening. And then my oldest daughter, Samantha, she is disabled. She is a type 1 diabetic, and she usually crashes out about 3:30 in the morning. So I usually end up having to stay up with her till about 3:30 in the morning. And then after that, after she goes to bed, then if she has any incidences overnight where she has a low or a high, I have to get up to deal with that. And then after that's taken care of, we all go back to bed. And then in the morning, I get them up, get them dressed for the day, make sure they've been fed for the morning, and then have them do whatever chores that they may need to get done, and then go ahead and set them on the schoolwork that I know that they need to be getting done for the day. And then after that, then I usually watch them until I go to work. And then they're left alone, unfortunately, for a few hours because she works till 6 p.m., but she does not come over till about 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening. So, and then if I'm aware that she is not going to be over there, I will call my mother. And
so this guy, I cut a lot of it out because the exhibits were long and they have personal information. So I cut a lot of that stuff in the house and all that stuff. But this guy's got a modest job. He works hard all day, and then he's up with his daughter till 3 o'clock in the morning to monitor her diabetes. And she is just pissed that he doesn't provide a babysitter for the interim so that she doesn't have to come over from her shack pad and see her kids.
Have her come over and watch the kids, sit with them. That way they make sure they get their medications and their shots. So.
Okay. And the children are homeschooled, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. And what do you do to ensure that they're, meeting their academic goals or necessary, curriculum?
As far as their goals go, I pull out their subjects, and because we try to alternate subjects every day, and we'll pull out their subjects. We'll review the chapters that they need to have done and the worksheets that go along with them, and then have them done. And then if they have any questions or anything while I'm at work, they can call me, or I'll call and check on them on my breaks to make sure that they're keeping up with those. And then when I get home, then we usually go ahead and talk about whatever they've done, and then I go ahead and check over their work for them.
And are you following some type of?
I think he's too kind. I think he's still hung up on her. He's too nice. He lets her back into the house whenever he wants to. He didn't take any shots at her. He said that she contributed, although a little bit. But I just think he was honest. And then I think he overplays her homeschooling. She's simply not there enough to do it. But he acts like she does everything with that.
Established curriculum?
Yes, it's through a BECA. It's a established curriculum.
And is this something that monitors their progress, or can you describe it's called BECA, you said?
A BECA, yes.
Can you describe what that is?
It's a Christian-based learning program where it covers all the core things that you need to do while you're in school, whether it's your math, your science, your English, history, Bible studies, that kind of thing.
Right. And so is that something designed for all the children?
Yes, it is something designed for all the children. And then as they progress, then when they're ready to graduate, their work is submitted and then graded, and then, or if they choose to go to school, then it's submitted and then graded to make sure that they are up to par.
All right. And so can you tell what their current academic progress is for each child?
My oldest daughter, Samantha, she is fixing to go into high school. And my next oldest, Olivia, she should be fixing to go into high school. My son, Thomas, I believe he is currently around junior high. Don't ask me specifics. Angela does do more with their schoolwork than I do. And then my youngest, Belle, she is in I couldn't exactly tell you what she is doing right now, but.
All right. And so are they, when they have been evaluated by this program, are they academically on course, or are they ahead?
They're actually ahead of where they need to be. So.
Okay. So they are eligible to enroll in high school, the two oldest?
Yes, they are.
And is that going to be a public or private school?
A private Christian school.
All right. And do you know the cost for that?
For my oldest daughter, I know it's going to be about $2,500, and then I believe, don't quote me on this, maybe another $2,500 for my next oldest daughter, Olivia.
Okay. And are you going to be able to pay that?
Yes.
And when will they start then in high school?
I would believe it would be this fall is when they would start. So I don't know what day they start in August, but I believe it would be like mid to late August.
All right. And you heard Ms. Kennedy testify the fact that there's been a breakdown of her bond with the children. Is that something you've noticed as well?
Yes.
Can you describe kind of what your observations are regarding the breakdown of that bond between Mrs. Kennedy and the children?
How so would you like me to describe it? Because I can tell you what's going on that's caused that breakdown. Or
well,
like
what behavior they've exhibited that leads you to believe there's a breakdown?
My oldest daughter, well, actually, come to think of it, most of the children when she's over here will actually go hide upstairs in their bedroom. So they don't have to be around her. They don't want to talk to her. They don't want to participate with her. They do argue with her, but generally the arguments spawn from her being on her cell phone talking to her boyfriend or playing on Facebook while she's over here, or yelling at them about how they screwed up doing the chores, or just pretty much just criticisms or guilt trips. So.
All right. And you heard Ms. Kennedy indicate that she blames you. Have you taken steps to try to sabotage the relationship between her and the children?
I've talked to the children because they've asked me about what's going on, and I tried to be as open and honest as I could with them. And yes, I have said some things that are derogatory towards her around those children. Yes, I have.
Okay. And has she done the same, said anything negative about you to the children?
I've actually been told by my children, but I don't know if that's hearsay or not. So,
okay. So you've had some indications that has been happening on her end too.
Yes.
And have they expressed any kind of resentment for her leaving the marital residence?
No, they're actually happier now than they were because there's less stress in this household and there's less fighting. So.
All right. Was she the source of a lot of stress for the children?
I don't know if it was just me or it was just her. I could not say, but the kids seem happier because they're not being criticized all the time or yelled at all the time. So.
All right. And so do you also have extracurricular activities you do with the children?
Not right now. They're not enrolled in any extracurriculars. So.
Okay. What about for fun or entertainment? Do you spend time with them outside of the marital home, or do anything else besides schoolwork?
We'll go outside and we'll play baseball when it's warm out. We'll go out and play in the snow.
Okay. And so when you have free time, you do try to spend it playing with the children?
I do spend time playing with them. I'll play video games with them. I will play card games with them. Occasionally I'll play board games with them, or I'll ask them about how their day is and spend time with them, or help them out with chores, or help them learn how to cook, that kind of thing.
All right. And do you have any local family support in the area?
My mother, she lives here in Battle Creek as well. She does come over to occasionally watch the kids when Angela's unable to, or she refuses to.
Okay. So
yes,
you do have your mother that will help with assist watching the kids if necessary.
Correct.
And is she able to transport them if necessary?
Yes.
All right. And you indicated that when sometimes Miss Kennedy refuses to, has there been many occasions where she's refused to come over to watch the children?
There has been a handful of times. I couldn't tell you how many, but there had a handful of times where she has absolutely refused, or she just ignores us for 2 or 3 days at a time.
So sometimes she actually kind of disappears for a few days?
Block the home phone. She'll block my cell phone so nobody can communicate with her. So.
All right. And had you tried to communicate with her about the children during those periods?
Yes, I had.
All right. And they're in a Christian-based curriculum. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. And so is it your intention to then raise them Christian?
It is correct. That is my intention, and it is also hers.
Okay. And so you do take steps to try to ensure that they are, raised Christian?
Yes, I do.
Okay. What else do you do?
We do not attend church because obviously trying to get everybody together on a Sunday morning is a little hard, especially since my oldest stays up really late due to her diabetes. They do have Bible readers that we go over. Angela does spend more time going over those Bible readers with them. It's basically condensed stories from the Bible. And then we try to teach them good values as how far to treat people in society, how to deal with issues when they come along. Basically, just be nice to other people and treat them how you want to be treated.
And have you ever met James in person?
Yes, I had one time.
And how did that come about?
My normal store that I go to after I get out of work was closed, so the next nearest store happened to be the one that he was working at, and I went in there to buy myself something to drink. And when I went up to the counter, I introduced myself because I recognized him from pictures that Angela had shared with me. And I just told him, you know, basically there's no hard feelings between us, but, you know, if you're going to do what you're doing with my wife, do take care of her. And then I left.
Okay. And did
Oh, sweet Jesus! What?
asking if you ever went back again?
That's what I took from the text, but apparently she was just that they could have me arrested or thrown in jail for trespassing, or I could be shot for being in there if I did something I wasn't supposed to.
All right. And have you ever been charged with domestic violence with Miss Kennedy?
No, I have not.
All right. So, Mr. Kennedy, at this point, what do you feel would be in the children's best interest as far as, now let me explain. There's legal custody, which is making important decisions in their lives. This is medical or education and such. And then there's physical custody, which is where the children reside or, you know, who they live with. What is your feeling would be the best interest of the children regarding legal custody?
Legal custody, I believe 50-50 would be best for them.
All right. So you think it would be to their benefit to have both parents involved in making important decisions such as medical or education or such?
I do believe.
Okay. Now, what about as far as physical custody? What do you feel would be in the children's best interests?
At the current juncture, I believe being here with me would be in their best interest until she can get back on her feet or we can come to some sort of an arrangement.
All right. And why do you feel that would be in their best interest?
Because they have everything they need here. Their beds are here, their toys are here, their educational materials are here. They have access to food, water, clean laundry, showering facilities. They get to play. They have access to their dogs. So.
All right. And if Miss Kennedy's circumstances were to change, would you be open to changing the physical custody?
Yes, I would consider it.
But at this point, how many overnights have the children spent at Miss Kennedy's other residence?
As far as I know, I want to say just one, maybe two with my youngest daughter, Bella.
All right. And the other children have not spent a night over there?
No, they've gone over there, but they've never spent it.
All right. All right, Your Honor, that's all the questions I have for Mr. Kennedy.
Okay. Ms. Keene-Kennedy, do you have any questions for a defendant?
You know, Nicole's house doesn't have room for all four of the kids.
Okay, ma'am, that's not a question.
I guess not.
Okay, no question.
It is a factor to consider, as you'll later see.
Mr. Keene-Kennedy, you had testified as to what the SEV for the house is. What do you believe to be the value of the house?
You like the fair market value of the house?
Yes.
Between 90 and 100,000.
Okay, they're like in Battle Creek area. I don't know, but that tells you why homeschooling probably is a better option than the public schools. If that's the value of the house, I'm being honest.
That's substantially more than the double the SEV if you were to use that.
Mm-hmm. I know market inflation's bad, but that's how much the houses around here have been going for lately.
Okay, so you believe that 90 to 100 is appropriate?
I would say yes.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions. Anything else, Mr. Linton, as a result of my questioning?
No, Your Honor, the defense would rest.
Okay. Ms. Keene-Kennedy, anything else as a result of my questions?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Any additional witnesses, Mr. Linton?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Keene-Kennedy, are you rest, Mr. Linton?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Keene-Kennedy, you have opportunity to present any rebuttal testimony or witnesses if you wish to do so. Do you have any rebuttal?
I do not agree with what my husband said about the ABECA program. That was not conveyed correctly. I'm the one that works with the kids the majority of the time. There are two different courses of study. One is accelerated and one is independent study. My kids do independent study. They're not graded by ABECA teachers. But if we want our kids to have a high school diploma, there is an accelerated program where they can do that and have ABECA teachers grade their work. It costs a little bit more, but it's always an option. And my phone is about to die. I don't have a way to charge it. I'm trying to get to my charger, but
Okay, anything else, ma'am?
I just want what's best for my kids, and it's not fair that the kids should go to him physically, full-time, all the time, when his emotional and verbal abuse forced me out into a place where I only have one bedroom. So I can't accommodate the kids. He knows this. He's using it to his advantage. But I would agree to 50-50. It's just that he also knows my credit is shot, and it's going to take me a really long time to get a place of my own. So he wins. That's what he said. I don't think that's fair.
Okay. Anything else, ma'am?
I would like to see my kids go to private school this fall. Olivia is not ready for high school. She is not even done with middle school. She's in between 6th and 7th grade education level right now. Thomas exceeded her. He is now more ready for 7th grade.
And the entitlement. I want my kids going to private school, and I want to be off my husband's insurance so I can get more free government benefits. Really?
Than she is, and she's only partly through it. Sam is ready for high school. She needs to go. She's struggling with depression and anger issues, and part of it's from the divorce. You know, part of it's just teenage anger and rebellion. But she needs some friends, and I can't give her that through homeschool. So I'd like to see her go. I think she'd be successful at St. Phil. I had a Roman Catholic education in high school. It did a lot of good for me, you know, and maybe that spiritual, you know, aspect.
No, it didn't. You are like the worst commercial for that type, whatever type of education you claim to have.
Of things will help guide them and make better choices.
Okay. Anything else?
I guess no further comments.
Okay, thank you. That will conclude the proofs in this matter. Mr. Linton, any, or I guess I go to plaintiff first. Ms. Keene-Kennedy, any closing argument?
Your Honor, there's really nothing I can say at this point. I've basically been steamrolled this entire trial. I have rebuttals, but nobody seems to want to hear them, or I can't get them to play.
No, we don't. You weren't prepared for a hearing, but you lost absolutely in terms of procedure, substance, demeanor, in every possible way you could lose. Yes. But it's not like some sham where it wasn't fair. It's because you should, on the merits.
I want my SUV. It belongs with me. I paid for it. And just because I'm struggling to get by right now doesn't mean that I'm going to stay at Walmart forever. It's just temporary to try to get me an income. I didn't say it was going to be a good income, but something is better than nothing, you know? I will continue to try to better myself so that I can be a better mom for my kids. But it's hard to do without a vehicle and without my own place. I don't have the space to accommodate as is right now, but Nicole is more than willing to give them space if they want to come over. She said that's fine. We just don't really have a way to fit 5 people in one bedroom, you know? Sorry.
Anything else?
No, you're
Okay. Mr. Linton, closing argument.
Thank you. I'll just highlight a couple of things. I mean, Ms. Kennedy did admit that there was no physical abuse in this relationship, and that's why she wasn't able to obtain legal representation through legal services. She's trying to use this as a guise and claiming some type of abuse because basically she chose to move out of the marital home so she could pursue her love interest with James, which is clearly noted in the text message where she said she has to that she has responsibilities at her new household and they cannot be neglected.
Nailed it.
She has brought the children around James. She's obviously sending racy photos to James as well. She says that she loves James very much. And basically she chose James over her children. And she abandoned them, leaving Mr. Kennedy to try to take care of their needs by himself. Further, she's provided very little financial support or help to the household and children, and the burden is fallen on to Mr. Kennedy to provide for his children. He's the one that has to take care of them basically most of the day until she arrives for a couple of hours, maybe after work if she chooses to come. But she's obviously selective because she's, at some point blocked the communications so that Mr. Kennedy can't even get a hold of her at some periods. So at this point, due to her instability and the fact that Mr. Kennedy is the one providing the primary care for them, and given the circumstances, we ask that Mr. Kennedy be awarded the marital home and the parties be given joint legal custody with primary physical custody to Mr. Kennedy.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Keene-Kennedy, anything else?
Okay. First of all, the only reason why I didn't talk to my husband was because it was dangerous for me. We were getting into arguments. He was being cruel to me. So I gave myself space so that we could cool down. And we always came back to one another to open up the lines of communication again. It was just not safe for me at the time. Now, as far as how things settled with this matter, Tim may end up with the house, but can I at least keep my SUV?
Anything else, ma'am?
I guess not.
Okay, thank you. Court has heard the proofs and the testimony in this particular matter. Court had previously preserved the proofs in this case at the prior hearing. As a result, the court will find that there has been a breakdown of the marital relationship in this case, and as a result, the court will grant the divorce in this case. The issue today before the court, pursuant to the stated purpose by the parties, was to address the issue of the house and the custody of the children. There were no other issues presented. The court notes that court was apprised of that at the status conference on January 31st, 2024. So the court will, in fact, address those particular issues. The other issues will have to be resolved by the parties themselves as we go forward.
All right.
In this matter, the custody is governed by the best interest of the child test as delineated under the Child Custody Act, being MCL 722.23, and we'll specifically examine those factors in a moment. The first task in any custody case is to determine whether an established custodial environment exists. An established custodial environment exists if over an appreciable time, the children naturally look to the custodian in that environment for guidance, discipline, necessities of life, and parental comfort. The statute provides that the age of the child, the physical environment, and the inclination of the custodian and the child as to the permanency of the relationship shall be considered. The court could consider whether there's an established custodial environment in both homes or homes of both parents. If an established custodial environment exists, that established custodial environment cannot be changed except upon showing of clear and convincing evidence that it is in the best interest of the children. If there is no established custodial environment, then the burden of proof is a preponderance of evidence. The legislature has enacted the established custodial environment and the clear and convincing burden of proof to minimize the prospect of unwarranted and disruptive change in custody and to erect a barrier against the removal of the children from an established custodial environment except in the most compelling cases. Clear and convincing evidence which would be necessary to change the established custodial environment is evidence which would produce in the mind of the trier of fact a firm belief or conviction as to the truth of the allegations sought to be established, evidence so clear, direct, and weighty and convincing as to enable the fact finder to come to a clear conviction without hesitancy of the precise facts and issue. In this particular case, we look, the plaintiff has testified that, again, and she has reiterated that she cannot accommodate the children in her current situation. The testimony of the defendant was that in this particular case that the the plaintiff had left and moved from the home in April or May of 2023, that she was gone until about August or September when she came back to the home and then finally left the last week of November 2023, and she's remained separate and apart since that time. In this matter, the court has also noted that, again, the testimony has shown that, again, the physical environment that the children are in is in the home where the defendant resides, that, in fact, he has testified about the bond with the children, that, in fact, the bond has broken down to be now almost non-existent between the children and the plaintiff. She has herself testified that the children hate her and that, in fact, she believes that it is the result of actions of the defendant in this case. Notwithstanding that, the court notes that, again, court has to look at where do the children look for guidance, discipline, necessity of life, and parental comfort. Clearly, if they are stating, as plaintiff acknowledges, that the children hate her, then clearly they're not looking to her for that parental comfort and guidance. In this matter, based upon the testimony, the court will determine that the established custodial environment exists in the home of the defendant in this matter. As a result, the defendant need only show by preponderance of evidence that it's in the best interest of the minor children to remain in his custody, whereas the defendant would be required to show by clear and convincing evidence that the children should be in her care. The first is the love, affection, and emotional ties existing between the parties and the children. As I've just stated, it doesn't appear that the children have much love, affection, or other emotional ties with the plaintiff, as she has stated by her own admission in this case. She has testified, and the defendant testified, that when she comes over to the house, the children will take off to their rooms as a point to avoid the plaintiff, although she is there to assist with their schoolwork, etc. It does appear that looking at factor 1 or factor A, that does in fact weigh in favor of the defendant father. Next factor is the capacity and disposition of the parties involved to give the children love, affection, guidance, and continuation in education and raising them in a particular religion or creed. In this matter, again, it does capacity and disposition. Obviously, there is a damaged relationship somehow between the plaintiff and the children, although the court notes that even by the admission of the defendant, that she's primarily responsible for the education. The court takes that into consideration, and both the parties desire that children be raised as Christians, although they do not attend any church on a regular basis. But in view of the fact that, again, it is the love, affection, guidance that the defendant provides to the children, the court will find that this factor does slightly weigh in favor of defendant father. Next factor is the capacity and disposition of the parties involved to provide the children with food, clothing, medical care, and other remedial care recognized in place of medical care as well as material needs. The defendant did present exhibits E1 through I think E30, in which it delineated and documented the payments of the household and what he was paying to support the household. The plaintiff had testified that she did not provide the financial assistance since leaving the household, other than, as she stated, there were $400 she paid in groceries and then a Semco bill that she paid. And so it does appear that it has been the defendant that is primarily responsible for the material needs and providing the food, clothing, etc. to the children. The court will find that this factor does weigh in favor of the defendant father. Next factor is the length of time the children have lived in a stable, satisfactory environment, the desirability of maintaining continuity. It does appear that, again, the children are in the home that they've been for a period of time, that, in fact, again, it does appear that that is a stable, satisfactory environment. The plaintiff, by her own statements, acknowledges that she can't have the children in her current home, and as a result does not have a stable, satisfactory environment for the children. As a result, the court will find that this factor does favor the defendant father. Next factor is the permanency of the family unit, the existing or proposed custodial homes. There's been no testimony other than that the plaintiff does have a relationship with this individual named James, but there's been no testimony about that being in any way permanent, or that it would change other than the dating relationship they have. And there's been no testimony about the defendant being engaged in any other relationship. The court will find that this factor does not favor either party in this case. Next factor is the moral fitness of the parties involved. Although there's been some testimony about abuse, the court will address that when I address domestic violence. It doesn't appear that there is any testimony or much testimony about moral fitness of the parties. In this case, as a result, the court will find that this factor does not favor either of the parties. Next factor is the mental and physical health of the parties involved. There's not been much testimony about, well, there's been no testimony about physical health. The only mental health is that the plaintiff has been seeking some therapy, which she said she's been in for probably a year in this matter, but the court doesn't find that that is sufficient to impact her mental health as it relates to the raising of the children. The court will find that this factor does not favor either party in this case. Next factor is the home, school, and community record of the children. In this case, obviously, the home record would be in the home of the defendant. The school record would be, again, if you state that both of the parties have been involved, although the plaintiff's been involved more in the homeschooling. There's not been any testimony about any extracurricular or other community activities. The court will not consider that. The court will, in fact, weigh this factor slightly in favor of the defendant father, only as it relates to the home record of the children. Next factor is the reasonable preference of the children. If the court considers the children be of sufficient age to express a preference, the court has had an opportunity to speak to all of the children, and the court will take into account and consider their preferences in this case. Next factor is the willingness and ability of each of the parents to facilitate a close and continued parent-child relationship between the children and the other parent. In this case, that court does not believe that that issue, that either party has not done so. Obviously, the plaintiff has been involved in the household of the defendant, other than days that she does not come or has other things that she is in the home on a pretty regular basis each week to work with the children, even if it's just a matter of hours per day. But the court doesn't find that this factor weighs in favor of either party, and I will not give it any weight. The next factor is domestic violence. The plaintiff has testified that there was domestic violence in the household. The court will note that other than her allegations of this, I assume that the court will note that the plaintiff has now left the hearing in this matter. She did state previously that she had her battery was running low on her phone. So
okay, I don't know how to put together a poll at the moment, but I just want to ask you guys: do you think her phone actually died, or do you think she just had enough and cut it off? That's the question in my head.
The court can only assume that that's it, unless she left voluntarily, which the court doesn't know. But the court will continue with the ruling in this matter. And she can always look it up on YouTube and review the rest of it after these proceedings. She has testified that there was domestic violence. However, she had not testified as to any physical violence in this particular matter. She has testified and did testify that she was not able to get the assistance of legal aid in this case because there was no physical violence. So the court is taking that into consideration. The court also notes that there was no other evidence other than her self-serving testimony about any violence in the home. As a result, the court will find that this factor is not substantiated by the evidence in this particular case, and the court will not give this factor any weight. Next factor is any other factor the court considers to be relevant to the particular custody dispute. The only thing that the court would consider as relevant, is, as the plaintiff had repeatedly stated in this case, she testified that she is struggling to get by. She's struggling to find a place, that she does not have a place at the current time where the children would be able to be involved. And she testified also in this case that she could not accommodate the children at her particular location. The court does not note any testimony as to anything she's done to attempt to accommodate the children at her home. And in fact, she had testified that she had only on one or two occasions had Bella spend an overnight basis with her that none of the other children have. And so the court is taking that into consideration in this case. When it does appear that that does weigh in favor of the defendant father. When the court considers all of the testimony in this matter, it is clear to the court, and I state, as I stated, based upon the burden of proof in this matter, the court will find that, again, as it relates to joint legal custody, the defendant has acknowledged that it would be in the best interest of the children to, in fact, have 50-50 joint legal custody. And as a result, the court will so order joint legal custody in this matter. As it relates to physical custody, the court notes that the defendant only need prove by a preponderance of evidence that it's in the best interest of the minor children, but based upon consideration of all the factors in this case, it does appear that the defendant has proven by clear and convincing evidence that it is in the best interest of the children that the children remain in his physical custody, the court will award sole physical custody to the defendant father.
I was confused on that too. So it's joint custody, but he gets 100% physical custody. That makes sense. I'm not familiar with this area of law, but that seems to be in line with what everyone's thinking in chat.
In this case, the court has to then look at, again, the matter of child support. In this particular case, the defendant or plaintiff testified she works at Walmart, that she makes $18 per hour, and that she works on average 38 hours per week. The court would consider that as purposes of her income for child support purposes. The court notes that the defendant had included his paycheck stubs in this matter. The court is going to take into consideration the paycheck stubs that he had presented. The court will use the 2024 February paycheck stub year to date as the amount for considering his income for purposes of calculating support. I'm doing that because if you look at the paycheck stub, you note that there are all sorts of time. There's time and a half, there's double time, etc. And as a result, the court could not get an average taking any particular week in consideration. So the court will consider the year-to-date income as to the last paycheck stub in February 2024 for purposes of calculating the average to be used for child support purposes. The court will give him a deduction for $164 per week for purposes of the health care insurance for the minor children. And those shall be the amounts considered for purposes of child support. As it relates to parenting time, the court notes that in considering parenting time, the court has to consider the applicable statute, which is MCL 722.27A, and the court has to consider what is the best interest of the children so that they can develop and maintain a strong relationship with both parties. This is difficult in this case because the plaintiff does not have the ability to, and as she stated, is not able to accommodate the children in her home except on a limited basis. The court has to consider the following factor: any special needs or circumstances of the children. The only special need the court had been apprised of in this matter is as it relates to Samantha with her diabetes. And again, the care, as the defendant has testified, that when he gets home, he has to effectively stay up with her until about 3 in the morning to monitor the diabetes and then proceed from that point. So court has taken that into consideration. Next factor is whether the child is less than 1, which isn't applicable. The likelihood of abuse or neglect of a child during parenting time, there's been no testimony about that. Likelihood of abuse of a parent during the exercise of parenting time, there's been no testimony of that either. So the court will not consider it. The inconvenience or burdensome impact of travel, there's been no testimony about that. The parties reside in the same community, so that is not applicable. Next is whether a parent is reasonably expected to exercise ordered parenting time. The court will note there's not been any ordered parenting time in this case. The plaintiff has not sought parenting time in this case, so the court is taking that into consideration. And then the next factor is whether a parent frequently failed to exercise parenting time. Clearly, the plaintiff has failed to exercise parenting time in this particular matter and not pursuing it nor taking the children, although there's been no prohibition or restriction on her. Next is whether there's threatened or actual detention of the child, which there has not been any testimony about, so the court will not consider it. And again, any other relevant factors, which again, the court will take into account the current situation of the parties. What the court is going to do is the court will simply order parenting time, all time and places which the parties may mutually agree in this particular case. In the event and at such time as the plaintiff is able to exercise parenting time on an overnight basis, then the court will entertain any petition that she might file to, in fact, modify the particular parenting time. In this case, the court would order parenting time on alternating holidays, but not on an overnight basis. The standard would provide for overnight basis. Clearly, she can't exercise that, so the court will not order on an overnight. The court will simply, on the times that she's able to exercise her alternating holidays, that it would be from 9:00 a.m. to 8:00 p.m., and she can exercise them at those times, but not on an overnight basis. The last thing that the court is called upon to address is the division of the home that was preserved by the parties. The defendant had introduced Exhibit A, which is the SEV of the home. The SEV is $27,305. He had testified that there's no mortgage on the home, and he has not maintained property insurance on the home, and that, in fact, there are some back taxes at the current time on the home, which he intends to pay, and that was in about $3,500. In this case, he testified that he believed that the fair market value would be approximately $90,000 to $100,000. In view of the SEV of the house, the court is going to take into consideration the lower valuation by the defendant, and will put a value of approximately $90,000 on the home, less $3,500 in back taxes that are owed. As a result, the home value would come out to $87,500. The court would, in fact, divide that value in half, meaning that the amount that the plaintiff would be entitled to from the home would be $43,250 from the value. The court would order that the defendant shall pay her that sum of money by refinancing the home or paying her out another way, and that would be done within 2 years of today's date. With that, I'll ask Mr. Linton, is there anything else that you believe that the court has failed to address or needs to address before we conclude this matter?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Court will ask Mr. Linton. I'm going to ask, as a result, because obviously the plaintiff is self-represented, and I really question whether her ability to prepare a judgment to recite everything that the court has stated. I would ask Mr. Linton that you would prepare the judgment of divorce and the uniform child support order and submit those to the front of the court for approval and then for entry to the court.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you both. You're free to go. Have a wonderful day.
All right. Thank you.
Love, exciting and new.
Well, there you have it. That was just awful. I still don't know what happened to the SUV. I can look in the chat. Does somebody know what happened to the SUV? Like they took down numbers. They have some formula, I'm sure. They took down numbers, so I don't know if she's paying child support or not, although it would seem like she would be. I mean, she's not going to pay much. She doesn't have enough money to live on herself, but she'll probably be ordered to pay something. They split the house. The judge leaned for him on that too. I mean, that's what she wants the house, well, or her portion of the house, and that's sort of disgusting because this guy doesn't have enough money to pay the property taxes on the house. I saw in there they said he doesn't pay insurance. Even if he doesn't have a loan on it, he doesn't have to maintain insurance necessarily. Usually that's a condition of a mortgage, but he doesn't have the money for the property taxes. The state will take your property. That's where he's at. He's got a basic job and he's got 4 kids he's supporting. The guy, I say that with respect, but he doesn't have any money. And that makes sense as a matter of law, especially if it's a marital asset, they acquired it together. She may have contributed to it, so that's fine. But would you even want to? Hey, you know what? Why don't you take out a mortgage on the house that's paid it for to pay me, and then you won't be able to afford to stay in the house that my children stay in. Ah, the whole thing is disgusting. And you people say I'm cynical about marriage. That's what you get. Not all, but that this scenario is not even remotely uncommon. Not at all. And in fact, I thought yeah, they did well in the hearing. I thought the attorney was fantastic. He did a really good job. He made all of his points. He was very level. So even when she would like say stupid stuff to him, he just wouldn't rise to it. She would say things and then he'd make an objection. He'd wait a minute to get a response because he knew he was right. Very smooth, very good as a matter of law. I think he's an excellent attorney. Oh, so there you go. This is Alyssa's fault again. I started watching it. I didn't know it was that long. If I would have known it was that long, I would have never started watching it. But then I got into it, and I'm like, I got totally involved in it and had to see the end. I tried to behave and just like let it play, but I couldn't take it. Even on a second viewing, I just couldn't take her. I couldn't. It was too much. All right. It's late. Thank you all for coming out. I appreciate it. I will see you all soon.